Hey, hello. I am Darrien Bailey, a library specialist at NC State University Libraries that specializes in creative design and video creation. And this is a one take workshop. One take workshops are pre recorded workshops edited in post that are streamed or premiered on our library's channel. We also make these workshops to provide students at NC State with an understanding of the processes of professional creation that can be useful in their own creative projects, so feel free to interact with us in the live chat or comments. In this workshop with fellow librarian Alex Valencia and library specialist Tim Mensa, we practice drawing manga panels and graffiti art while discussing our creative processes and inspirations that have made us the creators we are today. So welcome to our one take workshop. Because I am close to the edge. You gonna watch? You gonna be in there? You gonna be in there?
Check. Can I request General Iro?
General Iro? I already have a sketch though. I have a legit sketch.
Do it again. All right, let me see. Darrien, what you got going on over there? What you working on today?
No, play. No, bro. Easy. Bleach is coming up, the anime, which is awesome anime. So this is Kenpachi. He's a dog. He be just doing crazy stuff. So that's why I did him.
Are you relate to him?
I relate to him, bro. He's a dog, bro.
Is this camera working?
No, he loves to fight. That's what I'm trying to say. He loves to fight.
You got the dog in him.
Yeah, he got the dog in him.
And so what is it? You making a panel? Is this a panel that you have on?
You gotta talk close to the mic because you don't got a mic.
All right, my bad.
I got a mic on me. Yeah.
So how did you get to where you're at right now? You got a panel? Did you go online for a reference piece? How'd you get here?
How I get here?
Yeah.
You gotta put it in this camera so people can see.
All right.
How I got here is honestly, I rented out a projector from the library, and I was able to kind of like project it on my wall and then sketch around. Yeah, sketch around it. So I get a rough sketch.
So you're not tracing.
I'm not tracing.
You're looking at it as reference.
I'm looking at a reference. When I initially do it, it's 10 times rougher than this. It's actually like a million times. So you can't really say it's tracing because, well, if you can, I don't really care what you call it. I'm just having a good time. But
so are you putting up the paper to the wall from the projection
I'm putting
and getting the lines, the general? Oh, okay,
yeah, the general lines.
Yeah.
So then, because I used to spend like hours and hours and hours drawing these, and I was just like, bro, let me just actually have fun. So
yeah, that's a common practice with muralists, tattoo artists.
Yeah.
People always wonder how you get these super clean lines, but
and it's like I used to have to recreate like these historical cartoons. I actually got paid to do that once. And so I actually started using the projector for that. So I didn't have to like, because they were big, like I had to do them for exhibits.
yeah,
So
you get your proportions right. You're not just doing
yeah, so I didn't want to mess it up.
I think the misconception a lot of people have, and probably because they're just not aware, is that you're just pulling this from your brain, doing it. But
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, truthfully.
My special talent is being able to see something and copy it. So the more I can do that, the more I'll try to do it. That's why like to learn drawing, that's all I used to do. In college, like I used to remember like doing tattoos for people and then just like finding different shapes and trying to copy the different shapes. All you're doing with drawing is copying shapes. So if you break down a drawing, it becomes a long shape. So I don't know. It's something that like I really love to do, and it's also like relaxing. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Yeah. So I'm finna draw Kenpachi, bro. Kenpachi's a dog, bro. He be fighting, and he's so strong, bro. It's just his spiritual pressure
You connect.
will stop people from doing anything.
All
That's
right.
what I'm saying.
Is it for good?
His whole thing is he just loves to fight. That's it.
Debatable.
His whole thing is he loves to fight.
Debatable.
All right. Where are you headed next?
So basically, I'm just gonna make it an actual outline. Like this is still very rough, and then by the end of this, or ever long we go, I want to make it like concrete, so then I can actually like what's it called? Get some ink, go over it in ink, and then it really become like an actual panel. So it's just kind of like getting I already got the proportions right, so now it's just time to go in and lock in, you know. So
But I mean, like this, all drawing is just like keep practicing,
Yeah.
keep practicing.
It's like a
keep
jump
practicing.
shot.
It
If you
really
take a
is.
week off, you gotta start back.
If you're not putting up shots in the gym,
Yeah.
you're gonna be
It's
rusty.
gonna go away real quick.
Yeah,
But it does
so-
come back quick also.
It does.
It's kind of like muscle memory. But there, as someone who started drawing late and thought that I could never be an artist and started seeing some progress, there's nothing better than when you can tell your hand to do something and it actually does that line, that shape. It's really hard. You'd think it'd be easy to make shapes or letters or just like a face, but it's very, very difficult. Super difficult. But you will notice the progress if you put in the work,
That's what I'm
no
saying.
matter where you start from.
That's what I'm saying. Hold on, I'm finna get the other mic so that Tim can just talk and I have to think.
Tim's our
So
color
you-
commentary.
You do design. You do artwork.
A little bit.
Have you seen your journey?
So I was really influenced by a lot of graffiti. I grew up in the Bay Area, so it's San Francisco, and I know graffiti gets a bad rap because it can be vandalism, it can be unwanted art on the street, but I've always just been fascinated by like the letters, how people tweak and take these like classic fonts and really make them unique with their own style. And so that's the drawing that I've done a lot of mostly on paper. But just trying to take these letters that we see every day and try to flip them and make them fun. And if you're writing like NC State, for example, can you make it balanced? Once you have the balance, can you disrupt the balance and have it be wavy and funky?
What do you mean by balance?
So kind of like if you were to fold it in half, does it kind of mirror itself if you were to do that? Some of the artists I like, they used to crease their paper in the middle, and then they would draw two lines so they'd be super symmetrical. And then once you have that style down, then you can like tweak it out and like play
Interesting.
around with it a little
Yeah.
bit more. Do you have a flare from one letter, like an accent on the base of the letter? Does that match with the accent on the right? So maybe the middle is not super balanced, but at least
Oh,
those
that's
two pieces
interesting.
kind of tie it all together.
Yeah.
And that's what I love, just seeing someone, and then, the nature of it's usually really big and bold and lots of colors. And then that's a whole nother thing, right? Once you have your letters down, now you got to color it in. How's your color? Do your colors match well with each other? It's a lot of fun.
And when you're learning those things and your canvas is concrete versus, an art studio or a canvas or with a professor, and the consequence for messing up could be a fine, could be jail time. Like, how do you, have you seen that kind of influence the art like as a whole?
Yeah, well, that's wild, right? Because you'd see these huge when I was in LA, you'd see these huge pieces on the freeway, obviously illegal, but beautiful and with a bunch of colors. And so you wonder, like, did they just stay here from 4 to 6
Right.
a.m.? Then you watch some videos of interviews, and they really just perfected their technique of like not overthinking it. There's also with spray paint, it's very forgiving. So if you make a mistake, you can paint over it with your
okay.
next color.
Yeah.
And you kind of do it in layers. You get your skeleton, and then you go over that with like a fill color, and then you get your outline, and you can do your background in between there. So it's really just like your process. But it's
cool.
really funny because you go from pencil to paper, and then you add some Sharpies, fine line, the thick line Sharpies, colored markers. And then you kind of just transfer that over into spray paint. Spray paint has different nozzles. You can get a thin line. You can get a fat, they call it a fat cap. You can get a fat spray. So you can fill in faster, but it's going to use more of your paint. I imagine, I haven't dived into too much painting, but I imagine the different lengths of the brushes or the thickness of the brushes is similar. You got
Yeah.
a really small one that you use for the line work, and then the bigger ones that you can use to fill in. And it really just goes back to your style.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's like a puzzle. You're kind of putting a puzzle
Yeah.
together of the piece, and sometimes I'll know like I like the way my O's have been looking lately, so I'm gonna start from there, and then work with the other letters and try to see if I can match that style of O to the rest.
It's cool.
Just kind of balancing, playing off.
It's cool. I can't draw and know very little about it. But it's cool to hear other people's experiences with it and how it kind of ties into other creative outlets, like really anything. I feel like drawing, film, music, writing, poetry, like all those things feel connected in a way.
Definitely. I saw this. It was beautiful in a sad way. Martin Scorsese was talking to someone who's interviewing him, and he was saying that he's just figuring out film and like how to make a movie and put a movie together, but he doesn't have time to rest because he's a little bit older. I think he's in his 80s.
Wow.
And he was just saying like he doesn't have time to rest because he just wants to produce and create and make music. And drawing's not something that I could see myself like trying to do professionally or make money from, but one thing that it's taught me and that I really appreciate is how hard it is. Like with any creative endeavor, I think it can be easy to be dissuaded because you're like, well, I'm just not good at that. But you can have like some natural talent, but nobody's has all the skills off the bat, and they take years to develop.
Right.
So Scorsese says that about movies. Artists say that about their art pieces. Like you put in 5-10 years, you'll see the progress. You'll get there. But we're all starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Cool. But I just love that you get like a real appreciation for how hard things are.
Yeah.
Especially in this era of like social media where it can seem like there's always like the perfect image being displayed, or
Right.
you don't see like a lot of the struggle or like
Yeah.
what the process of going into it. And
Yeah.
art, and you're starting from a blank paper. It's like the perfect metaphor for starting
Right.
with nothing
Yeah.
and seeing what you can come up with.
And I think because a lot of like outlets like TikTok and Instagram are so short form, it feels like, at least from a viewer standpoint, that like, oh, they got to that end result so quickly and
Yeah.
it looks amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, you're seeing an edit.
Yeah.
You're not seeing from start to finish, all the choices made, all the details changed. Yeah.
Which is why I like this setup that Darrien started of just kind of an hour drawing. Like you'll see how far we get in an
Right.
hour, or should I say like how little we get done in an hour, because
Yeah.
it takes a long time. Like it's a whole process, and I'm sure same thing with you when you're
Yeah.
making a song. Maybe you'll have the bass line
Yeah.
one day, and ideally, maybe for some people's process, you're like, all right, I have the bass line, I got to finish the rest of it so I don't
Right.
lose it. But other songs, you've told me you've worked on for months, for
Takes-
years,
yeah.
and then you come back to it one day and see it from a new light. So
Yeah.
they're all connected, the arts.
Very cool.
Arts.
Let's see
Now
it.
we got to get started.
Yeah, like it. We're talking about it. Now we gotta do it.
Do y'all have like specific supplies or art stores
yeah.
that you recommend
Michaels.
for people getting started, or like
Michael's,
what-
I like
what-
Jerry's,
what brand of pens or pencils?
the classic
The
Dixon
Ticonderoga.
Ticonderoga 2.5,
Okay,
or
the
a little bit lighter.
2.5.
I kind of like what's the lighter one? 3? I don't know. I
I
can't
don't know.
remember. I forget which way it goes. But yeah, pencil. I love Sharpie thin line. They bleed a little bit, but I
Okay.
like black and white. I'm not very good with color. But
Does
then
that
some
have
good,
a
some
millimeter?
good markers. Yeah. This one just says ultra fine.
Okay.
But these macrons, they have different. You got like a brush. You got .03. You got 1 millimeter. You got all different types of ones. These are the ones like a lot of artists prefer to
Good
use.
starter kit.
Yeah. You can buy them individually, or you can buy them in the pack.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, the other place that also has lettering that I've always been fascinated by is comic books. I love when you see like Slim and it runs
Right.
across like 5 different panels, and they
Yeah.
all get the M's bigger than the S, and every letter in between gets a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bit bigger. That's always really fun.
That is interesting. Like the
Comic book as an art form is just wild, because you'll have someone who does what Darrien's doing with figures, probably from scratch because they're creating unique drawings.
right.
And then someone else will be the colorist, and they'll come in and color everything and ink. I
Wow.
think they're called the ink artist. They'll ink everything, and they could be totally different styles, but
Yeah.
together it all works. And you have the writer who's writing out the
interesting.
story, but it has to fit within the
Yeah.
art bubbles and the art panels. It's a very interesting art form. So you
It's-
think about like the old school graphic novels like Watchmen. How do you even start a project
Right.
like that? Like, you make a lot of music solo. But imagine
Right.
like always having 2 or 3 other people you have to
No,
worry
absolutely.
about.
Or like that's kind of reminds me of making a movie. Like you have the director of photography, the cinematographer, the editor, the gaffers.
Yeah.
Like you kind of need all that for other art forms
Yeah.
too, which is interesting.
I heard one thing with directors, it was like to the lead actor or actress, you're gonna be here for 8 months on set and film, but I've been here a year before you got here, and I'm gonna
Right.
be here probably a year to 2 or maybe 3 years after you leave, working with the editing
Right.
process and getting it back to vision. I just don't even know how they start.
I know, yeah. Just pen to paper.
Pen to paper.
Yeah.
You finna lock in?
Get some letters going. Darrien said we're not allowed to have music.
Muse.
It has to be non-copyright music.
Non-copywritten.
That's what I'm saying. You got original stuff? Yo,
Yeah,
play your
put some
music video.
DFI.
Play your music video, Tim. Yeah.
27th.
Sir, this
if
is
they
mine.
can come into, if they can
Copyright
come.
It ain't. It ain't
I'm
though.
getting all your stuff, too.
It ain't though. You didn't even hit me up. You didn't even let me know you were doing this. That's nuts.
I've been doing it for everything.
Y'all. Where's this
Yo,
going?
we let you know.
Twitch.
We text you. Me and Bill, we text you.
Twitch,
We're
can
like,
you flag?
You been using it? You been using it on Twitch?
We can use it on stream.
My
Flag
boy.
this.
But before we even used it,
Is it
we
in the?
asked
Am
you.
I in the credit?
Yes.
All right,
every-
all right,
every-
all right, all right.
We asked you before we did it.
All right, all right, all right. I'll let this one slide. I'll let this
Tim
one
acted
slide.
brand new.
Sample from Amy. So.
You can get like you can spend hours getting so particular on one line, especially with like if you go when you go to the eyes and stuff like that. Oh my god, I'll just be like looking at it for like an hour, just like, what did I do?
When something doesn't look right, it drives you
It
crazy.
drives you crazy.
So are you using lighter pencils or a lighter touch to get?
To get the sketch,
Yeah.
the sketch I'm going
touch.
very light on
A
just
little
with
bit.
the same pencil.
Okay.
Although sometimes I'll use for if I want to go light, I'll use the Canandaigua. How you say it?
Ticonderoga.
Ticonderoga. There we go.
Which millimeter?
Usually
That's the Ticonderoga 3 millimeter.
3. Hey, you said that like it was commercial.
I'm letting people know.
You
we're
can
not-
insert your ad
We're
right
not
here.
we're not gatekeeping the pencils right now because I didn't know there was a difference.
No, they fire. They fire for sketching.
The
when you
Bic
do-
mechanical
Yeah,
can't beat it.
can't beat it.
Come on, we used to be fighting over those in high school for real.
It's just a superior.
With the replaceable eraser head, come on.
Come on.
Come on. If you didn't have one, what were you doing?
It's kind of like the flex.
I used to
when
show
you-
up with the black Dixon pencil. Fire. Be a little bit
People
different.
weren't ready.
It's kind of like the flex when you were in like preschool or kindergarten, and you had all the crayons.
The grippies, no, the
Ooh.
grippies, bro. The little
grippies.
the-
Okay.
come on.
Come
I hate
Come
it.
on. Nah, you didn't.
I hate it.
You hated them because you didn't have them.
No. I took. There's a very specific reason why I hated it, because my teacher back then, I'm left-handed. So she
I'm
used to try
left-handed
to-
too.
She used to try to force me to write right-handed with those
Oh,
type of.
see, that's
We talked
trauma.
about this.
Don't
Yeah.
don't
I'm about
don't
to
force
trauma
left-handed
I'm sorry,
people
Tim.
to
I'm
write
sorry.
right-handed. We're just built different.
Come on. Man. See, we're making headway, right? There's things that are happening, right?
Yo, I want to watch Spirited Away now.
Classic.
Chihiro.
Y'all can't see, but we got Spirited Away like
Chihiro.
in the background. I put it in the background of the video. Your music goes great with Spirited Away. See,
Wow.
it's your song too.
Doesn't sound familiar. You want to know the craziest experience I've ever had with my music? Kind of similar to this, but like not really at all. This was 4 years ago. My girlfriend got this like random hand-me-down old film camera from her grandfather who used to take pictures. We didn't know how to load it with film. I think she managed to find a reel of film off eBay or something. We go on YouTube to try to like find a tutorial. First one that pops up, it's no talking. It's just like text captions on this video of this person loading in this model camera with a reel of film. And the only thing you can hear is a beat I made like 3 years prior. This video has like 50K views.
Are you serious?
I'm so serious.
Who
And
made
I
the video?
wasn't
Do you know?
even no. And I wasn't even like, I was like half paying attention. I was kind of fiddling with the camera.
Yeah.
I hear her watching the video. I'm like, I made that.
Haven't made that in forever.
She's like, what are you talking about? I was like, I made that beat. Like that. That's my song. We're like, what? We checked the description. It's wrong. The credit is wrong. And they're literally like comments, you know, in the section being like, yes, like, yo, I like looked up this person's SoundCloud. I don't see this song. And I'm going on frantically being like, that's mine. That's my song. Like, this is crazy. It was some like random thing I posted on SoundCloud that ended up on this random, like I should not have found that video.
That's insane.
And like, it was just this
what
specific
if you're, like,
model camera.
Popped up on all these
I
tutorial
know,
videos,
it's crazy.
Like
It's
really
crazy.
lo-fi beat?
It's crazy.
But how about the audacity of people?
I know. Just take it.
Unless they know you.
Right. Just take it and then not credit me. I mean, thankfully, like, we reached out and they changed the credit. And ultimately, like, it was a beat on SoundCloud. I wasn't going to make money off it. But still, like,
yeah,
that was just such a, like, insane experience. Like, something I posted on Twitter. Got, like, 10 likes was on this random YouTube video.
Super random.
That was, of a random camera that we happened to inherit. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, like, what are the chances that you even get that camera?
Right. Stumble across that one video.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, it was insane. Look at these lines. Very nice.
I forgot how to spell wolf. I was like, I'll have enough room for the OL. It was going to be Woolpack. 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 But I'm going to see if I can make it work.
I think you can. I feel like with the font work you were talking about, there's so much room to just make the letters work for you.
You see it. You see it.
Which is cool. Do you think that translates into like graphic design at all? Because I feel like they have different reputations. You know, it's kind of like fine art versus
street art.
Yeah, street art or street photography versus, you know, like museum curated stuff. Like,
Yeah.
do those worlds intersect much?
There's a lot of intersectionality between tattoo artists and graffiti artists because there's a lot of pride in line work.
Right.
And then obviously with tattoos, they take it very seriously.
That's true.
It's like a permanent canvas. Right. There is some gatekeeping from the tattoo artists to graffiti artists.
Oh, interesting.
It's not as respect, but I do think overall there's a mutual respect. And then there's a lot of graffiti artists who go on into fine art or like I guess quote unquote museum style art,
right?
Selling in galleries and stuff like that. So it's definitely a gateway. Some of them just do it for the game and just love the street fame of getting your name up, and you know there's something to that as well.
Do people tend to digitize it, like go on Illustrator then and try to emulate their font work?
I do see a lot with Procreate. It's kind of like lowered the barriers, and it's kind of like
that's cool.
It's an entry level for a lot of people, and then it's not as long as drawing.
Yeah, I guess the street art conversation is interesting because it's like if you apply that to music, you know, maybe some street performers, I'm sure a good handful of them aren't just doing that to do that. Like probably the end goal is to be in like a studio or like performing on like a bigger stage. But maybe some people do just like that's their canvas is to perform on the street versus being like a stage performer. Like the environments are different.
Think about life, Alex?
Yeah, I'm just trying to, because it's funny. It's like graffiti's a subculture, and a pretty strong subculture, I'd say. So with that comes like this is how you do it.
Right.
Like, these are the rules, you know. And they kind of look down on other stuff like street art or like wheat pastings, like an Obey. There's always been kind of like a side eye. I think he got respect because they saw how hard he went, and how much he would get up eventually. But with those rules comes like there comes a lot of like positive from it because you develop like your own art form. You develop kind of like principles, kind of like a thing. But then it's also kind of silly at the same time too, because it becomes really gatekeepy.
Right.
You can't think outside of the box. You end up being put into a box that you try to escape in the first
Right,
place. Like at the
yeah.
end of the day, illegal graffiti at least is just like being able to say, I'm here, this is who I am. So
yeah.
in any way that you can express yourself,
Like this.
to me makes sense. But when you're young and you're, this is how you identify,
Right.
you can kind of lose yourself in
Yeah.
that, which I think is kind of like part of growing up too. When you're young, if someone says they listen to a music that you don't like listening to, you're kind of like, well, that's not who I am.
Right.
That's not what I listen to.
Yeah.
And as you get older, you're like, well, actually, there's some great songs in that genre you can
Right.
take and pull
Yeah.
from all of it.
That's a good point.
It's kind of double edged though, because I know a lot of people don't like what they would call tagging, just like
Okay.
scribbling your name.
Interesting.
I get it. It can look tough. It can decrease your property value, but you don't get to these beautiful pieces without starting first with your little signature that you scratch.
That's
here and
interesting.
there. Without that, you're not going to get those beautiful pieces that people love.
Yeah.
People pay a lot of money for. You don't become a muralist unless you use your tools a lot. And when you're young, you don't really have open walls.
Right,
We
yeah.
are lucky to have the expression tunnel, and I've seen a
Yeah.
lot of classes and like intro to lettering go on in there, which is awesome.
That's
But
cool.
there's not really a lot of places like that for people.
Right.
And that's like a very specific. The walls are a certain texture
Yeah,
with all the
yeah.
layers of paint. and
Right.
It's also not the safest to be inside of a tunnel painting with no like airflow going through.
Oh,
if
yeah.
you're gonna do it a lot, and so if you're not there, where else are you gonna go?
Wow.
Abandoned buildings, train yards, and then it kind of seeps out from there. And
That's interesting.
I like the idea of like if you're in a New York where it started
Mm-hmm.
and you're from a low income neighborhood,
Right.
especially back then, like how do you tell the city that you belong? How do you claim some of that space?
And even now, thinking about other mediums where even this, like where we can record the process and share it, like there are literally negative implications for recording yourself doing that, because you're essentially like snitching on yourself,
Yeah.
or like incriminating yourself, I guess. I don't know if it gets that deep, but
You can like if someone who writes around town or does murals around
Yeah.
town, they probably wouldn't want to have their face on camera.
Yeah.
And stuff. It's kind of just like that perception thing, right?
right.
Depending on who's in city senate
Yeah.
or the house committee, do they value it?
Right.
Same thing with skateboarding.
Yeah,
Do they
that's
have
true.
spaces for people to
Yeah.
skate or street skating? Like
Bro.
I do like that there's a ledge across from Subway downtown where they seemingly let skaters skate the ledge, but
yeah.
in a lot of places they wouldn't let that happen.
That's a good point.
Where if you don't have a skate park close to
Right,
downtown, where are you
yeah.
supposed to
Where you
skate?
go.
Or-
There's so many things off limits when you're trying to claim a space. Like everybody has so much territory.
Even though there's an abundance of
There's so much
space,
space.
surfaces, ledges.
Yeah, because there's places in
Concrete.
Europe where it's like
I heard
this is our
Copenhagen
town
is
square,
like,
but
yeah.
like feel free to skate, feel free
Right,
to
yeah.
do art. It's not illegal,
Right.
and then you see really amazing pieces because
Yeah.
there is like a hierarchy of respect when it comes to graffiti. Of like, if the better piece is there and you're not as good, you don't go over it.
Right.
And then of course people break the rules, but then the next person has the right to go over your piece.
Yeah.
And it just brings the best out of like
That's
healthy
cool.
competition, especially
Yeah.
amongst young angsty people.
Yeah.
And especially in the era that we're in now, like I feel like a lot of this stuff blew up in the 90s, whether it be
Yeah.
punk, maybe not punk was probably around before that, but there's definitely a strong punk scene, or graffiti, or
Yeah.
skateboarding, rollerblading, because you didn't have other stuff to do.
Right.
You went outside. Now we kind of have like,
Outside.
Wow.
and not that one's better than the other, but just kind of figuring out how to
Yeah.
maintain.
Yeah, it does make you wonder, how do we culturally like talk about these things, allow spaces for it,
Yeah.
Yeah, even things that feel as quote unquote commonplaces like skateboarding now, like there's still so few places to do that
Yeah.
comfortably.
Comfortably.
Kind of crazy, but it's literally like discussion and conversation on
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
And you know how hard it is to get lines right with markers and pens and paper. Like imagine with spray paint, which is not the best medium, and then in the dead of night,
Right.
you're not trying to use your flashlight to draw attention to you.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
You know what's crazy? The Boondocks did an episode on it too.
Really?
Yeah, it was a beautiful
Yeah, it was a
episode too.
beautiful episode.
Yeah,
It was actually one of the most emotional episodes.
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah. There's a Boondocks episode for everything.
Can you give a quick synopsis or?
I can't remember it. All I remember is the ending, and it's like I don't want to spoil the ending.
Yeah.
The younger brother gets caught doing graffiti in like a TV sort of way. He does it on people's houses, which
Okay.
obviously you wouldn't do.
Right.
But he gets caught, and then he goes to this Bob Ross type character to teach him
Okay.
how to
Yeah.
do real art, as they
Yes,
say.
yes.
But the Bob Ross, rest in peace, type artist,
Ross
sees it in him and kind of like encourages him to develop his art. And he does a beautiful piece at the end, but it's still considered vandalism, pretty much. But it's a really, really funny, really good episode. So when you say you're not like a drawing type artist, have you tried?
I don't know. I think drawing for me has felt probably like how a lot of people feel when I may share that I do music, or like it just sounds so ethereal and intangible to me, and one of those things where, especially as a kid, because that's so many young kids outlets, and some people seem to be able to lean into it seemingly really easily. It feels like one of those things where it's like you have it or you don't,
Yeah.
which I know is a misconception. And I have like vague memories of trying to draw Pokemon cards like that. That was kind of the
Fire.
I remember one summer I was probably like 8 or 9, like getting packs of cards and doing kind of what Darrien was talking about, like I'd ask for my mom for tracing paper and try to like just draw out, outlines of different cards like on tracing paper just to feel like I could do it. And I don't know, then I kind of like randomly hit a doodling phase in like 2019. I was just kind of leaning into not being a good drawer and just kind of like owning it.
Yeah.
And that was kind of liberating.
Freeing a little bit.
Yeah, I would just write different words that sound interesting, like and kind of like kind of like what you were saying. Maybe not, so stylized, but just kind of have like different phrasings or words and like try to like write them out. And
Yeah.
I was using the Papermate color pens. I really like those.
Bubble letters are a great place to
Yeah.
start. They look fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of been my extent of it. Kind of just owned not being quote unquote good.
Yeah, once you let that go,
Yeah.
it's very free.
Yeah. And I think that was probably the point for even those kids that I saw when I was young that are like, oh my gosh, like they're so good.
Mhm.
Like they probably weren't. That probably wasn't in their head. They probably were just doing it because it was freeing and happened to develop techniques.
Yeah.
Because of that. So it's not one I feel comfortable with, and maybe that's a good thing.
It's you know how much time it takes to put into like music.
Yeah.
Because one thing I've learned getting older is like if you want to pick up a new hobby, you can, but whatever you pick up is gonna take
Right,
woodworking.
yeah, right.
Like, do you have the time to dedicate? And there, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of pressure to like if you do something, you got to be the best at it. Kind
Right.
of like the Kobe mentality, which
Mhm.
I can see. The benefits on one hand,
Mm-hmm.
but I also think it's like it's too much sometimes.
Right.
Like why can't I just try things?
No, yeah, and I think
Like have that freedom.
right, the threshold to try things when you're young
Yeah.
is so low. You have summers, full like days on end where you don't even realize, you might be drawing every day,
Yeah.
to where
You're
now it
developing.
feels like practice, or I've got to carve out time.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that probably is just what you were doing, when you were a kid, because what else was there to do?
Unintentional,
Yeah,
yeah.
unintentional practice. So
One of my favorite. I met these like two Spanish artists, and I would consider them like full time professional artists.
Yeah.
They were known around town for being able to do designs and stuff, and they were staying at my buddy's house in San Francisco. They would get a blank paper, get some watercolor, and just make like circles and shapes like in a row, like 3 in a row down the page. And then they let it dry, and then they come back like an hour later and get a Sharpie, and they try to make something within that shape, that random shape.
Yeah.
And it'd be like a penguin or
Wow.
like a flower
Yeah.
or whatever it came to mind. And then they would just pass it around the room, and everybody would
That's
make like
cool.
one or two. And it's like, oh, like I understand. I understood sports. Like you got to practice the zigzag in
Right,
soccer
yeah.
before you go out to the game. You got to do it every day for 3 years, and then finally you use it in the game one day. But it's just like practice for art.
right, yeah.
And for some reason, that never like clicked until that moment. It was like, oh, you guys just play around,
Right.
but you do take it serious.
Yeah.
It's like serious play, or with intention.
With intention, yeah. Darrien's finagling
What
a
you say?
GoPro.
It's a GoPro, so it's gonna go.
It's gonna go. We going pro.
What type of animation style do you like?
Do I like? I don't know. I mean, I know what I like. I know what I like when I see it, but then I also am surprised sometimes. I feel like I like soft, like calming colors and lines. I feel like a lot of 90s, early 2000s animation inherently has those things. So like a lot of the Ghibli movies, early like animation, like Pokemon, the things basically I was introduced to as like a child, I feel like have informed like the art styles that I like, but I also don't know that much about
In the Spider-Verse.
art styles. Yeah, and like stuff like that is like
Fire.
surprising me.
Fire.
But I think it still kind of has some of those core concepts that I might like the colors that they use are really like engaging, and even though the lines are a little harsher, like more comic like, I think it's the movement of them that feels interesting. And even some shows are like I think about Teen Titans, like it's a pretty dark looking show. You know, like
Which Teen Titans?
the original Teen Titans, like the colors aren't as vibrant as, let's say, Pokemon. You know, like they were using a lot darker palettes, harsher lines, but like I still really like it. You know, but compare that to like Steven Universe, they're like polar opposite, but I really like Steven Universe too. So I don't know, it's like interesting to
It's the contrast
think
in
about.
tones.
Yeah.
You ever watch Samurai Jack?
Yeah, I had a couple on VHS. I haven't gone back to it in a long time, but like I remember enjoying how it looked.
Great. Good stuff.
Um,
And story. They came back.
yeah.
The Aku, the villain,
Mhm.
the voice actor passed away.
Yeah,
And
he
so
did
the-
Iroh too, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
That's tough.
So the
Yeah.
creator didn't want to finish the story, but then
Mhm.
eventually, like enough time had passed, and
Yeah.
they found someone that could
Get close.
get close
Yeah.
respectfully, and
That's cool.
they finished out the story and did a really good job.
That's awesome.
So this is my outline
Nice.
essentially.
That's great.
Kind of got bigger towards the end for some reason, but
Whatever.
and we'll pack big.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna add 3D, and that's my favorite part. 'Cause
Alright.
It takes like this, which looks cool, but and then just adds another dimension to
Mhm.
it. Literally.
Yeah, literally.
I'll be right back.
Darrien, do you want to swap?
Swap
We
the
can
spots.
see.
What's it looking like? That's good. All right. I'm in the chair. Yeah, man. Bleach is so inspirational.
To you specifically?
To me.
Yeah.
To me. But in general, it can be very inspirational. It's like it's the anime that
You're
has...
crazy for this one. This might get flagged.
No, Bleach has a lot of animes. You have like unlikable characters. I'm not gonna lie, but the main character is probably the most likable, at least out of the big three. Which his whole goal is just to protect everybody, and I can dig that. I care a lot about people, so it hits home a little bit. But then they're coming out with the newer. Oh my god, it's amazing. Just the newer seasons that are coming out. The 100-Year Blood War arc. Somebody will come after me for not saying it correctly, but right now I'm too hyped. I'm drawing at the same time. So give me a break. You know what I mean?
Is this the first anime you watched?
Yeah, it is not. What is the first anime I watched? First anime I watched was Yu Yu Hakusho.
Might have been mine too.
Yeah.
Like that I watched from start to finish, and like it wasn't just like a Saturday morning cartoon.
It was that Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop still fire to this day. I'm just saying.
It is good.
And then just like all of the Ghibli movies. Spirited Away hit me pretty hard. And then the rest of them, I just watched them. I loved them, but I don't know. Spirited Away hit me differently.
What about Totoro?
I love Totoro.
Oh my
I
god.
love Totoro.
Oh my god. Nothing bad happens.
Nothing bad happens at all. Kiki's Delivery Service, nothing bad happens at all.
No, the worst thing that happens is she burns a cake and then she remakes it and it's fine.
I'm not hating.
I think Atlanta, like weird segue, but I think Atlanta, I've been talking about this with some people. They do a really interesting job of like balancing pretty and ugly. I feel like Donald Glover does that very intentionally.
The lightness with the dark.
Yeah, he'll like. I've described it as like he'll like.
Pass me another Talladega.
Nope.
Ticonderoga.
Dang.
Ticonderoga. Ticonderoga.
What,
We
you
should
need
get
a
Kiki
eraser?
Palmer to spell that one. What was her word? Pulchritude.
That's crazy.
I can still hear it in Lawrence Fishburne's voice. Pulchritude. Yo, Aquila and the Bee changed my life, actually. The
Yeah,
art
never
style of
watched.
Aquila and the Bee. Oh, come on.
Bad? Am I missing out?
No, it's just funny because
No.
third grade, like I was the sleeper winner. No one saw this coming. I beat out, we're in a K through 5 school, mind you. I beat out everybody.
You said what grade?
Third grade. I beat out
Okay.
4th, 5th, 3rd,
Damn.
maybe 2nd. Whoever was in that pool, I won. Like I won in my school. I went to district. I was practicing like a madman, bro. We had this road trip. I literally was Aquila and the Bee. I had the script spelling bee, top words.
That's
I was
cool.
going through those things like extraordinary. Like, bro. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I was going crazy and I watched Aquila and the Bee. It was me and Aquila. You know, Angela Bass was my mom for a little bit.
Yeah.
She stood in.
We were
for a
in the
second.
trenches. They had a little bit of, you know, there's some prejudice in there that didn't need to be there with
Yeah,
certain, you know,
Yeah.
certain groups. But, you know, we moved past that.
Overcome.
But you should watch it.
All right.
You haven't watched The Kill
I'll
and the
watch
Bee?
it.
You
No.
should- and then
What
it'll
the
inspire
hell?
you to spell, especially at that. It was
terrible spelling.
Kiki was in her bag.
she was like, well, she's older than me. She's 29.
She is.
I would have been like 7 or 8. But I swear, and she must have been like 11 or 12 when she filmed the movie.
She was
But it
there.
probably came out when she was like 14.
in her bag.
And I was 7 watching that, like, wow, I'm gonna win scripts. Like, it's crazy. Nah, I still remember I went to district. I lost.
Dang.
But I got like, I was probably like 11th,
It's not bad.
like out of the district. The word I goofed on was mantilla.
Whoa.
Can y'all spell that?
No.
I'll
want
try.
that? Do you
I'll
want-
try.
Tilla.
Did you get it?
He got it.
Dang.
And you know, I asked the language of origin too.
Did they say Spanish?
They said Spanish, and I messed it up anyway.
What'd you do?
I said MANTIA.
Oh, tough.
They hit me with the.
They
Nah, they do the bell. They're gentle with it. They hit you with the. I literally cried in my mom's arms in public. I
Hey,
trained so hard.
Respect for putting yourself out
I
there.
said MANTILLA.
It's a hard word.
That's what I'm saying, and I feel like the winner got like mulch.
Yeah.
You know, like they got mulch. I'm making that up, but
We calling a recount?
that's what
You
I'm
back out there
saying. Run it back to
Run it
07.
back.
Nah, it was great. Everyone was rooting for me too. I came back from I had to skip school that day.
Yeah.
Came back around recess time. Everyone was like, "Oh my god, we know you won." I was like, y'all,
Those things are so
I
big.
did it.
So I
I
remember
did it.
we had Earth Day contest. We had to write like a small essay about Earth Day, why it's
Oh
important.
my
And for some
gosh.
reason, I just felt it. Like
You were going.
My dad helped me, but like I was like, everyone could plant a tree. That's one thing we could all do to
Wow.
celebrate this day, and I won. It was like a little pair. I won. It's in the
Yeah.
newspaper.
Oh, that's
everything.
amazing.
But you know, elementary school kids, they're like, "You won, dude. You got 40 passes to the boardwalk." And I was like, "Oh, like I got 40
Oh my
passes to the
God.
boardwalk. I'm gonna take everybody. We all going to the
Oh my
boardwalk."
God.
I got my little envelope. One pass to the boardwalk. Somehow the kids had got me all riled up, and I was like, "You coming with me? I know you've been bullying me. We've been rough, but you coming with me too. We all going to the boardwalk." Nobody went to the boardwalk. I went to the boardwalk. I had
Wow.
a blast,
Damn.
I love how we all have that like one.
but that feeling that you're saying, of
Yeah.
like, where everyone rallies
Right.
around you as a kid.
Oh my gosh. And it feels like the biggest thing ever.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure that felt like, yo, like, I'm going to Hollywood.
I don't know why we don't talk, because that doesn't go away. There's a reason why musicians get addicted to that when they come out on stage.
Yeah.
Everyone's taking pictures. There's like,
Right.
it's just a brain release. The amount of serotonin that probably
Yeah,
releases in your
I
brain
know.
is crazy. And then paparazzi at the beginning
Oh my
when they're all
gosh.
taking pictures, and then
Yeah.
of course it usually ends rough. But be fascinating to do a brain study on
Yeah.
like what's going on. And then you're a kid, you don't really. it's
Yeah,
like
I'm like, I don't
your
know.
first time experiencing admiration.
So
Yeah.
Rush. I don't know what this is. I like it.
What was one thing you went unnecessarily crazy on when you did not have to as a kid? Where you won some like random contest or did some
I used to
something.
assemblies, school assemblies.
Okay.
We used to.
Yeah.
I was in the choir.
Oh,
And,
he had the solos.
I was like, there was only two of us guys in there. So when it came to, we had different ones that we would do, but there was one year where we did the Lion King, and it was a Kuta Matata, and I had all symbols. Oh my God, I was killing that. I was like, ooh, I was practicing.
Can't tell me nothing.
The main event. I was like, ooh.
Oh, he still does the
He
He still does the
Come on,
words.
come on.
He still
Like, no
knows
King
it.
was
Do you have
before,
choreo
come
too?
Yeah.
You
We had- we had a-
remember
we had
it?
a-
You remember
no,
it?
no,
No,
no.
you definitely remember
No.
it. You
No.
definitely remember
Next
that choreo.
Nah.
You,
Darrien,
no,
can I
you never
reenact?
forget those
Well,
things.
my thing is everybody else had choreo, and then I was singing because like I didn't want to
Okay.
move. I didn't want to mess with the notes.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
That's fair.
But yeah, I was hitting that.
You never forget those things.
I got voted best 5th grade singer when that was my peak.
That matters. Like that
Yeah.
shapes who you are. When you get voted something like that, or win a sweepstakes, or they don't have contests anymore. What happened to contests? Like,
Shout out to Kanye.
what happened to winning random things?
Did you call the radio station back in the day?
My mom still does it. I never did it, but
Has your mom won anything?
oh yeah, she's won tickets to a bunch of stuff.
For real?
Yeah, like
No wonder she keeps calling.
I know. She'll still do that. get that.
That's all right.
Didn't get that.
That's just hard pencil.
It's hard pencil. People out there, you're supposed to move the page, right? When you draw, I just don't be moving the
Can you
page.
demonstrate?
So let's say I'm starting here. I want to rotate and keep on rotating so I'm not smudging. Actually, I want to go that way. So I'm not smudging. Especially when you do the ink, you do not want to smudge that. So you're trying to go either clockwise or counterclockwise, depending on which hand that you are. But I'm very unorthodox when I draw. I've had to learn through art school. So I don't tend to rotate, but I tend to go in spots, or I just erase my smudges.
That's what I find fascinating about art school is they don't really teach you how to draw. They teach you good practices.
Yeah.
Which will help you draw.
It's the techniques and then a whole bunch of perspectives.
Sweat the technique.
I hate perspectives. It gets you better. It gets
Good
you better.
habits. Good technique.
And a lot of gesture drawing. A lot of gesture drawing.
Yeah.
A lot of hey, guess what? It's time to sketch and do something and not think about it.
We wrapped?
I think so.
That's a wrap.
Thank you for watching. For more library content like this, leave a like and comment on the video. Also, if you have any questions about the techniques or topics we talked about, reach out to us using the links in the description. So until next time, peace.